So, Mr. Cotton, we've talked about the routers, Splunk logs. Again, why do we need the Splunk logs?
So,
And I also want to ask about that. We also, you mentioned, have not received the passwords, the tokens. Why do we need those things?
so if I can
To the
address
machine.
the first part of that question, Senator Peterson. So part of the challenge that we have is that specifically I'll use the EMS server as an example. The Windows security log, or the Windows security event log, as some people would call that, actually only goes back to the 5th of February of 2021. Now, there are a couple of things
So after the election.
after the election.
Okay.
So we would need this data to cover and to help fill in the blanks back to the election, okay? But more importantly, there's an aspect to that security log that bears consideration. And so the security log was set to retain approximately 20 megabytes of data. And the way that works is it operates on a first in, first out principle. As soon as you hit 20 megabytes of data, the oldest entry gets deleted, and the next, and so it just continually rolls like that to maintain the constraints on that data space. When we took a look at this, we found specifically in March, and I believe it was March 11th, there were 37,646 queries for a blank password on a system that only contained 8 accounts. Now, given the short time period that happened, that clearly was a script that was executed by the user EMS admin. Okay. What we don't have, because of the lack of logs and the condition of that system, is where did that script come from? Okay. So by leveraging the router information and by leveraging the Splunk information, I should be able to determine who was using the EMS admin account at that particular time and where did that originate from.
So just to be clear on this, were there 37,000 logins on one day? Is that what you're saying? How would you identify this?
When you're doing a security check on a system, it's very common for you to look for passwords that have a null password or a blank password, right? And so you can query the device itself to let you know whether or not there are any accounts that have a blank password on them.
So it's a query? I'm just looking for what you're calling this.
It's a
37,000
script, it's a query.
So there's 37,000 queries.
Yes.
And they were done on this one day. And the reason we need the Splunk logs is because those 37,000 queries churned the data so that you can only look back to February 5th, or what was the date?
February 5th.
February 5th.
That is correct.
And obviously, we need to go back to the election.
Right.
We need to be looking at the election day, prior to the election day, looking at access. So we don't have that, what we were given, we don't have that, that window, which is the critical window we need to look at.
That is correct.
Okay.